After 4 days of competition here at El Sunzal in Surf City, El Salvador, crowned our winners. And now it's time to break it all down. This is the Corona Post Show. I'm Chris Cote. I'm with Sam Bleakley and Matt the Waxhead Chanoski. And we're still digesting what just happened because that right there was a classic day of surfing. Chris, Sam, Matt, wow, what did we just see? I'm talking about beautiful nose rides, technical cross-stepping, awesome turns. I mean, finals day definitely provided us so many highlights and so much inspiration, soulful surfing all day long.
Yeah, we saw Waikiki domination, all four finalists. After the cold water of Bells, Kai Salas did win in the men's at Bells, but some of the Hawaiians underperformed. But out here in the tropics, in that 31 degrees centigrade, that 88 degree Fahrenheit water temperature, they were sizzling and they put on an incredible show today.
I think for the style, flow and grace really embodied by the surfers today. The women are an absolute highlight. Kelis, Sophia, amazing. Performances across the board, really showcasing all elements of that criteria, and really having world-class waves like this in the Longboard Tour really is a great canvas for these surfers to show their performing art.
It's pretty cool when the wave is as big a star as the athletes in the water, and El Sunzal definitely provided epic canvases all week long, and I will say that I didn't see a lot of good waves go unridden, so full credit to all of our surfers out there for using as much as we could of this awesome natural resource. So as we kind of break down things in our minds and start to remember exactly how we got here, we can start by talking a little bit about the men's final, which was a showdown between, basically the future of longboarding as it stands right now, both surfers from Waikiki. This was your men's bracket. So you see Kaniela Stewart, quarterfinal number 1, had to get through Kevin Skavarna and Ben Skinner, both incredible surfers there. He made his way to the final, whereas Johnny the Ripper, John Van Hohenstein, had to go through JR, another event favorite, and then a world champion, Steven Sawyer, to make his way into the final. And, I feel like Kaniela, he's having his moment, his best competitive year ever. And for Johnny, that up-and-comer, to really take it to him was really cool to watch.
Yeah, and it's been one for the nose riders, the nose ride fans, those hood ornament hang tens, that iconic image often captured by photographer Tommy Pierucci of Kaniela hanging 10 with a soul archer, with a lift on his Kai Salas built surfboards is become iconic. But the main thing is he's able to translate that so naturally into the contest format.
Yeah, and you just said it. Nose ride, Kaniela, those two words go together really nicely. He has just such an incredible ability to levitate. He makes the extremely difficult look so easy, and he does it while going really fast, Wax, which it's kind of deceiving at some of these angles. You don't really realize how fast he's going down the line.
Yeah, and it's the flow that he's really carried between the maneuvers of the nose and the tail that set him apart this event from previous events this year. So you're going to see the connection. That one, a little bit of a mishap, but it was all of the in-between work that he's worked really hard on so he could achieve those excellent scores, and he did so with full credit to him because the hard work in and out of the water to achieve that result, and I think he didn't let the foot off the gas the whole heat against Johnny.
Yeah, and it's pretty clear that both these surfers, of course, have an incredible amount of natural ability, but to harness that natural ability that they've both been born with, I mean, you look at Kaniela Stewart and this guy was born with incredible style, but to be able to harness all of those naturally given talents in the span of 40 minutes while trying to kind of fit your style of surfing into what the judges want to see is the mark of a true champion.
And it was great with Johnny as well because he was born in the Philippines, lived some time in Thailand, but moved to Hawaii when he was young. So he had the support of the Philippines team as well, this international competitor, but of course representing Hawaii and representing a bright future. He really did put on a good show. Congratulations for that second place.
Yeah, and when you call yourself Johnny the Ripper on Instagram, you better live up to that name, and I'd say he's done that and some.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the sensation from Instagram to TikTok that a lot of the youth these days really embody their time in. But he lives up to it. It's really important, I think, for that youth that are watching right now. If you don't have something to try, something to put yourself accountable to, you'll fall for anything. So commit. If you've got a passion, go for it. And that's what these two Waikiki surfers have done. And we're all so proud of them. And I think it represents a generation.
Listen to the wax head. That's exactly what we want to do. We want to inspire all of you out there to go surfing for yourself. If you're already doing it, you can get better by watching the world's best do it, and we've seen that all week long. And I put a lot of emphasis on the women for providing such an inspirational show of how to surf the proper way: style, flow, grace, power, technique. I mean, every woman in this draw showed us a unique perspective of surfing, and you see both of these surfers, their path to the finals was just very impressive.
Yeah, and the one thing that the women did so well today and throughout the whole event: footwork, cross-stepping, the use of the cross-step in and out of critical nose rides to keep that board trimming through turns. Kelis, of course, that great first heat against Mason, and then beating 3 times Women's World Longboard Champion Honolulu in the semi, moving on to that final. And then goofy footer Chloe Culhane, that bottom battle with Sophia was very good as she moved to beat Rachel, who was really on fire. And then it came down to a super exciting final between the goofy footer and the regular footer, the 17-year-old and the 18-year-old. But Sophia just had that edge, and I just love the control of the composure in and out of those critical nose rides. And look at the way she puts power into those turns, but done with finesse. So there's this continuous flow in and out of the maneuvers, and it's a joy to watch.
Much like Kaniela, working on the in-between parts of the longboard surfing, a lot of the Waikiki surfers, no stranger to the nose and the tail, but it was that in-between mid-board approach that's been the highlight for me. The transitions, as you said, Sam, and you just see that between the chop, making the difficult look easy, harnessing the power, but most importantly, using her body to her advantage, an element of difference there, throwing down that power attack.
Yeah, Chromio would be proud watching all of this fancy footwork go down. And, you know, in watching both of these surfers and how they approach that final, you can see what it meant to them emotionally, and you could just see the joy that they carried themselves in and out of the water. Best of friends going out there. They brought out the best in each other.
And this really says a lot about the longboard community. How often do the male finalists cheer up the women's winner?
Guess who was carrying the board? It was Kelis as well. So complete...
the complete package.
It was, and it was obviously the Waikiki final, but the best part is both of these surfers haven't won a world title yet. They've beat world champions on the way to the final.
And Kelis will be top seed going into
so
the original
confirmed.
Sprout.
Unreal, and that would an icing on the cake for Kelis. Unfortunately coming in second, but so happy for Sophia. But to go into Malibu number 1, it's a similar circumstance to what we saw with Kaniela, of course, knocking out Johnny the Ripper though.
No doubt. And, you know, you talk about proof of concept. Bringing this event to Surf City, El Salvador, I think paid off in huge ways for everybody. I'm talking about the surfers, I'm talking about the viewers, the fans, the enthusiasts out there that, you know, we're thinking, okay, El Salvador longboarding, is that going to go together? I've only seen Punta Roca maybe, but I'll tell you, this wave shined. And guess what? Around the corner, we've got the most famous break on planet Earth, Malibu. This is where hot dogging started. This is where longboarding really took root in not just surf culture, but in global culture in general. I mean, we're talking Gidget, Mickey, Dora, everything. Big Wednesday, it all went down right here in Malibu. And we're going to make history there again. Here is your original Sprout Malibu Longboard Championship, brought to you by Tractor Beverage Co. Your women's bracket is looking strong.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, that first match there with Chloe, Rachel, Mason, the winner will surf against Honolulu and Alice, and then going on to those woman-on-woman matches against Sophia and then against Soleil, and then that best of 3 against Kelis, who has that number 1 seed.
Yeah, I'm looking at that range now. Some upsets there. I think Hono dropping back into 4th place. That is a huge blow. She was carrying so much momentum moving into the event so far. But against Alice Lemoyne, she'll be back for revenge. 2 really good friends up against each other. Someone who prides herself on her nose riding. Honolulu will go to a rail game, and I can't wait to see all of these matchups.
Yeah, match one right there. That's kind of like your last chance for the slow dance, right? Those three surfers are all going to be extremely hungry, and they're gonna need to put up immediately and keep the pedal to the metal to surf all the way from last to first in that draw. It's going to be extremely difficult, but that's why they are the best of the best. So from the women's draw for the Malibu finals, let's take a look at what's in store for our men's championship day. This one is equally stacked. Of course, the superstars of longboarding are all here. Match number one, Eduard Del Perro, JR, and Tony Silvani. That's going to be a scrappy one for sure. Only one surfer will make it through into match two, where they'll meet up with Declan Whiten, Ben Skinner, and then you see Taylor Jensen, Kai Salas, and Kaniela Stewart. Taylor Jensen coming into this contest in that number one spot. He said in a post-heat interview, look, you want the highest seed possible to surf as less times as possible on that day. His job's a little bit more difficult now, sitting in third place, but obviously, we're talking about Taylor Jensen here. He's one of the GOATs. He's got a huge chance of catching a title.
Yeah, and I think as long as they were in from that match 3, they didn't want to be in match 2 or match 1, but the lone goofy footer, JR Esquivel, that's going to be very interesting to see if he can shine against the frontsiders. Tony Silvani, Eduard Del Perro have a lot of connection and history and positive results at Malibu. They will meet Declan Whiten and Ben Skinner. That's going to be really interesting. But there's so much culture in longboarding at Malibu to celebrate, and all of these surfers would have been heavily inspired by that heritage. And it's so important for the longboard community to be there to crown the world champion in this new format.
Yeah, and I think I have an idea of who might have the biggest crowd on the beach right there. We know from the Huntington Beach Open that JR always brings out the fans. So that's just going to add to that electric atmosphere. Malibu already has it. The atmosphere at Malibu is always awesome, unique, weird, cool, but that day is going to be extra special.
It brings that beach boy feeling that JR is so used to feeling in the Philippines, and Kaniela, likewise with Johnny at Waikiki, and those guys are going to be feeling the joy. They're going to be surfing through the rounds. Kaniela would probably enjoy to have surfed a couple of rounds and really get some motivation. But I think JR, he'll look at that and he'll look at it as an opportunity to get experience at Malibu. And guess what? Surfing the world's best longboard wave with just 3 people out, that's pretty cool.
The ultimate consolation prize. They've earned that spot, so they've earned their chance to surf one of the world's best waves with no one out.
Potentially 5 times. Oh, no.
And such a historic place. Going back to the Chumash Indians, Humalahu, which means place where the surf sounds loudly. There's all of that cultural, spiritual significance of the place. And they're moving into the 50s and 60s generations who pioneered all of that incredible hot dog surfing. And then the Renaissance in the 90s and all of the beautiful logging that inspired the generation of surfers who are going to be there competing. And of course, there's red hot locals who are going to be on the beach getting inspired as the next generation going, you know what, in a few years' time, I want to be going for a world title at Malibu.
No doubt. And of course, you mix all the, the beautiful tradition and the history there with the Hollywood element, that Malibu has. I mean, we're talking about Los Angeles prime time South Swell season.
The original Gidget, Kathy Kona, she'll be there. Caught up with her the other week. She is so stoked, and she wants to join us on the webcast for a little bit as well. Imagine having Gidget calling one of the women's heats, or at least featuring on the webcast. That's the ultimate. The person who really kicked off surf culture in the USA is excited to have longboarding and the World Championships back at Malibu.
Oh, there's going to be full coverage, and hopefully we have a couple dedicated cams to the infamous, world-famous Malibu parking lot, because there's a lot of different types of stories that go down there. We can't tell all of them to you, or else we'd get kicked off the air, but trust us when we say it's going to be interesting in and out of the water. And of course, what's going to be the spotlight, what's going to shine the most is the amazing abilities of our men and women who have qualified for the Malibu finals. We're going to see extended long nose rides, big turns. I mean, I think that Surf City El Salvador is actually the perfect primer, right? They're warmed up at a right-hand point break, so you know good things are going to happen.
They've been practicing their soul arches to lock those tens in and bend those backs and maybe lift those arms. But a lot of people now like to keep those arms down, and that's a big feature I've noticed this week, Chono, in El Salvador at El Sunzal, is a lot more composure with the upper body with this young generation. Not arms flailing, but arms in use when it's necessary.
And that word control in the criteria is a big part of that. Obviously, style, flow, and grace. It's not a nose riding competition. This is traditional longboard surfing, and that embodies the tail, the middle, and the nose for many years. In fact, high-performance longboarding is 35 years old, and for a large portion of those years, the midsection of the board went missing because they were guys who came from shortboards onto longboards. This generation don't care. They ride them all, and they want to surf a longboard in this fashion. The judging panel will be ready to adjudicate these surfers from start to finish, and I can't wait for a beautiful show.
Yep, it's right where it should be. So before we get to our awards ceremony, we got a treat for you. This is your top 5 for finals day here at the Surf City El Salvador Longboard Classic. So many moments to choose from. Full credit to our production crew because they picked the gems. We're going to start with number 5, Rachel Tilley defeating world number 1.
On that spruce wood stringer there, that 9-2 single fin Josh Martin board with the Hoffman inlay fabric at her best. 215 Women's World Longboard Champion, securing her spot in the top 8 to go for her second world title. She was looking incredible, and she knows Malibu very well. She's already designing a new board with Josh Martin to unveil on that one-day event at one point between the 3rd and the 13th of October.
And here is your number 4, Kelis Kaleopa'a joins the all-Waikiki finals with a brilliant performance from the quarters to the semis and beyond.
So that beautiful rail transition, and Kelis bringing the low body language, elegant footwork, and just showing us what she's done all year. And this just was one of the most stylish waves of the day, under pressure as well, to get her way into the final. And her mum, Malia, overwhelmed, but a little bit stoic, ready for that final, knowing what was ahead.
Johnny the Ripper, John Michael Van Hohenstein, really just solidifying his name on the map as a surfer to keep your eyes on for the next decade. This kid was on fire all week long. Owner of the best drop knee turn, I believe, in the entire draw. Every time he does it, I get stoked.
Yeah, and it was edge of the seat stuff as he moved into that final because he needed to win it to get in the top 8. But look at the power and the control and those turns and the flex. He gets really low and then he just really accelerates and rebounds off the foam. A fantastic all-rounder who will generate so much self-confidence from his huge result here in El Salvador.
Here's number 2, your men's winner, Kaniela Stewart. He'll be leaving El Salvador victorious, building a lot of momentum going into Malibu. But what a performance all week long.
Yeah, just that combination of tail, rail, and nose work. Kaniela, with his hands pretty much the whole time by his side, showing just how controlled he was and his finishing and style. And there, tactical surfing from Kaniela against one of his best friends, and just showing the judges why he deserves to be going into Malibu as the number 1 seed. Little mishap there, but you know what? Reading the waves like he does of his shore of Waikiki. He's a waterman. He knows the ocean. Doesn't matter if he's sailing a catamaran, riding a shortboard, or pulling in backdoor barrels. Kaniela Stewart can do it all, and here he is just navigating the nose. A feature in all the invitational longboard events around the world. Kani is looking primed and ready for a victory at Malibu next month.
Yeah, that was a really nice display of cutting-edge longboarding right there. So your number 1 shot right here for the Corona Post Show is Sophia Culhane, your 2023 El Salvador Longboard Classic winner. Sophia, can't say it enough. Style, grace, power, poise. She's got it all.
And overcoming adversity, having both boards heavily damaged on the airline on arrival, but fixing them and taking the win and surfing with an incredible level of maturity, but keeping that Hawaiian grace and presence. And she would be a younger 17 if she wins that World Longboard Championship than Rachel or Soleil when they both won their respective titles in 2:15 for Rachel and 2:18 for Soleil. So that's a big opportunity for Sophia. She knows that, she's going for it, and she stands a really good chance.
So we have 3 stars, right? We've got the waves, absolute superstars this week. The surfers, of course. Let's talk a little bit about the surfboards because these shapers and designers deserve a lot of credit. And we've said these 2 names a lot throughout the week. Kai Salas, Michael Takayama. Those boards featured heavily in both finals.
Yeah, and no coincidence they've been making a massive resurgence through, or I should say a surge through the rankings in the last few years. But there's a lot of surfers there. Sole Erico on her CJ Nelson designs, that pulled back tail. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have Rachel Tilley with the Josh Martin, the wide point forward a bit more of a conventional longboard shape. The Myers shape that Honolulu has been riding. But she also dabbles with the Michael Takayama boards as well. Heaps of variety on show.
Yeah, and it feels like, when you've watched enough of these heats throughout this week, I feel like the designs that, have obviously been tried and tested and proven over 50 years, but to have that kind of hidden technology paired with the traditional designs is a really cool element of what's happening right now in longboarding.
And a lot of surfers riding boards they've shaped. Kai Salas,
that's rad.
Kai
That's
Ellis
really
Flint.
Cool.
Stephen Sawyer. Something I particularly enjoyed in this event was the surfing from Kai Ellis Flint, the nose riding from Kaniela Stewart, creative board design and innovation from Ben Skinner, a real strong performance from the goofy footers. I love seeing Kevin Scavana and Stephen Sawyer really shining, and Kelis Kaleopa'a and Chloe Calmon. But in my head, I did have an expectation that Sophia was going to win. I felt like the adversity of those damaged boards was going to fuel that inferno, and she was going to build and build and build and take the win.
Worked out for sure. Well, we've got a lot more to come here from the Corona Post Show. We're going to take a quick break. Then we're going to go to our awards ceremony, and we're going to remain here on this set because we've got a lot more to talk about. The Corona Post Show moves on. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Corona Post Show, part of the Surf City El Salvador Longboard Classic. During that commercial break, I was reminded that we still have a lot of surfing left in 2023. It might be the end of the road for the WSL Championship Longboard Tour at Malibu, but we've still got multiple Challenger Series events. The Big Wave World Tour season will open starting in November, so a lot to look forward to for all of you surf fans out there. And of course, we did get the big news that the WSL 2024 Championship Tour schedule dropped. People are very excited to see Fiji back and more. So, of course, a lot more surfing to come from 2023. But right around the corner, pretty quick turnaround time. We're talking about the window opening October 3rd for the Malibu finals. And basically, we've got about a 10-day waiting period. And we can pick that one golden day. And right now, there's a lot of talk kind of going around. Surfline's got their eyes on all the storm systems happening. So we're going to have to wait and see exactly when it goes down. But October 3rd, prime time, South Swell season at Malibu. And our final 8 surfers for male and female are locked in.
Yeah, and it's been a huge effort for all the surfers to get here. We have to talk about some of those people who just missed out. The likes of Johnny the Ripper, the likes of Stephen Sawyer, the likes of Zoe Gropion, the likes of Tully White, the likes of Natsumi Teoka. People who have surfed phenomenal all season and put the energy into turning up to Huntington, turning up to Bells, having good results here in El Salvador as well. And of course, you had all those regional qualifiers. The likes of J.R. Esquivel came out of that Asian regional qualification. And then you had the people who qualified from last season's results, and then you had the season wild cards, and it put together that mix of 24 women and men, but it was only 8 who have qualified. And I just really want to celebrate all of those who just didn't quite make it, and I hope that they stay with it and go for it next year. But those 8 that did make it, look at those names: Soleil Erico, Honolulu Bloomfield, Kelis Kaleopa'a, Alice Lemoine, Sophia Culhane, Chloe Calmon, Mason Schremer, Rachel Tilley, and that's just the women's. Wow, it's going to be so exciting. The biggest names are there.
And really, it's just JR and, say, Declan Wyden, who will be the newer names on the men's side. So a lot of the familiar faces using their experience, and seasoned veterans really traveling all around the world, using their experience to get through a lot of the heats and adapting to that criteria. And we talked about boards just before the break. Having quality waves like this on the World Longboard Tour, we will see surfboards develop. A chance for these shapers to give the surfers opportunities to test new boards in these conditions. And world-class waves, like we had today, those overlapping heats during the week, proved to be a success. 44 minutes in that to get away some nerves and really give everyone equal opportunity.
Yeah, and talking of that list in the men's, you mentioned some of those bigger names. Quite a lot of the group from that generation who kind of in their mid to late 30s, Taylor Jensen, Kai Salas, Edouard Del Pero, Ben Skinner, Tony Silvani, you know, they've got great experience. The youngsters in that mix are Kaniela Stewart, Declan Whiten, and JR. JR, the lone goofy footer, though. That interests me a lot. I know I keep talking about that, but I really want to see the goofy footer shine at the Boo.
It's definitely going to be fun to watch, and I want to give credit to the WSL putting together this 3-stop tour and the athletes as well. You know, on the championship tour, on the Challenger Series, with multiple stops, you have chances to mess up, throw away an event or two. But for the longboarders, with these 3 stops being of paramount importance, you had to get an early start. You had to keep going, build that momentum through the year. And I would say there was a lot of near misses for some of our top seeds. You think about what happened at Bells, right? I mean, that's the mid-year cut for the longboard season pretty much. And there were some incredible wild cards in that field as well. So full credit to all the longboarders that knew that this was going to be a Herculean task to stay in form throughout these 3 stops. And you kind of look at where they are in the globe. You couldn't be further apart. Bells Beach, El Salvador, Huntington Beach. So it might have felt like a long grind, but really that was in the span of about 2 months. So a lot of credit to these athletes that, of course, it's the best job in the world. No one's going to feel bad for you if you're a traveling professional longboarder, but they do deserve credit for all that they put in to getting the glory.
Yeah, and a lot of the surfing that was being done often on self-shaped equipment, and that was exciting to see the likes of Stephen Sawyer bringing out a board he'd built for a trip to Brazil, an event in Brazil. He used it in Bells, he brought it out today, and of course that relationship he has with his father. We've seen Kai Salas, Ben Skinner on self-shaped equipment. As far as the women, that's an opportunity I'd love to see further, deeper explored. When will we get the first female on the tour who's building boards for her world title campaign?
It's coming, Sam, and that longboard generation is just starting to see the fruition that the seed's been planted. We see with these events a little more prize money, sponsors getting involved. The next step will be the coaches getting involved, people really taking it a little bit more seriously to tap into the culture, tap into the crafts, and more education behind what's going on beneath their feet. I think that'll be the difference moving forward to topple those veterans who've got the contest experience, but for that new generation, you need to educate yourself with what's going on with the history, the culture, and your equipment, because that'll be the edge that you'll need to do to get onto the tour and make your way to Malibu next year.
And Sophia referenced her coach, Auntie Megan Godinez, really great friend of Kalia Moniz, and I was really pleased to hear that, and I can see the positive impact that Auntie Megs has had on Sophia's competition campaign, and it could go all the way to a world title.
Yeah, I feel like the current state of longboarding is a really great amalgamation of, past, present, and future. You have influences from, the duct tape events. You've got influences, of course, coming from the 80s and 90s, the high-performance era, and that's fine because all of those things put together got us to where we are today. And I think longboarding competitively is in a really great place because you kind of had to go through all these cycles to get to the gold where we're sitting right now. And speaking of gold, we're about to pass out some trophies. This is going to be awesome. Our award ceremony for the Surf City El Salvador Longboard Classic is on. I'm going to throw it over to Mitchell Salazar.
Welcome to the awards presentation for the Surf City El Salvador Longboard Classic presented by Corona, the 3rd stop on the 2023 World Surf League Longboard Tour. First time we've hosted a longboard tour event here, and obviously some of the best performance we have seen all season long. La tercera parada del Tour Mundial de Campeonato de Longboard. Bienvenidos a la ceremonia de premiación del Surf City El Salvador Longboard Classic presentado por Corona. La tercera etapa del Tour Mundial de Campeonato de Longboard. Increíbles desempeños. Tenemos sus primeros campeones en cuanto a El Salvador. WSL wishes to open the Surf City El Salvador Pro event presented by Corona in one of the premier right-hand point breaks in the world, El Sunzal. Nestled within the territory that was once known as Señorío de Cuscatlán, El Sunzal is part of the Nahua people culture with its tonal strength and Yulpaki heart smiles. We gather to celebrate and honor the culture of El Salvador, past and present, and the history, identity, and heritage, which are key to environmental preservation. WSL se complace en abrir por segunda ocasión este Surf City El Salvador Longboard Classic presentado por Corona en una de las mejores olas derechas del mundo, el Sunzal. El Salvador, conocido durante mucho tiempo como el mejor secreto guardado por aquellos que buscan olas alrededor del mundo, ahora es el nuevo destino para la élite del surf. El Sunzal, con su tonal fuerza, y Yulpaki, corazón sonriente, se abre al mundo para compartir la cultura de El Salvador, su historia, identidad y patrimonio, que son claves para la sostenibilidad. We'd like to extend our sincere gratitude to the local community who has hosted us throughout the entirety of the past week. And thank you, the fans who have traveled here to watch and cheer on the world's best longboarders, and to everyone tuning in around the world. Muchas gracias de nuevo a toda la gente local. Agradecemos su hospitalidad esta semana pasada, y claro, a ustedes, los fans que han viajado alrededor de todo el mundo para llegar aquí al Sunzal y apoyar a los mejores longboarders del mundo. Thank you to our partners, Surf City El Salvador, our title partner for this event, and Corona, our presenting partner. We are also deeply grateful for all our community partners who joined us leading the environmental efforts here in El Salvador, Paso Pacífico and Oriente Salvaje. To help us award the trophies today, we have Graham Stapleberg, WSL President of North America, Central America, and Africa. Presentando los trofeos el día de hoy, el presidente de WSL Norteamérica, Centroamérica y África, Graham Stapleberg. Y un fuerte aplauso para la señorita que ha organizado la mayoría de esas cosas. A big round of applause to also help us introducing our trophies today, the Minister of Tourism, Morena Valdez. Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Introducing your runner-up on the men's side, your 2023 Surf City El Salvador Longboard Classic runner-up on the men, John Michael Van Hohenstein. Presenting the award will be Morena Valdez. All right, John, congratulations. Your biggest performance to date. You made the final. You needed to win to be able to move up into the top 8. But a young surfer like yourself, your first experience here in El Salvador, developing surfer throughout competition. What was it like visiting El Salvador for the first time?
I don't know. It was such a great event here. I had a good time. Yeah, just super stoked. Everyone killed it here. Good job to all the competitors. And yeah, it was a crazy heat with one of my friends I've grown up since my whole life with Kaniela. Great surfing, and muchas gracias, El Salvador. Thank you to my sponsors. Love you all. Aloha.
Congratulations, felicidades. Once again, Johnny the Ripper, runner-up on the men's side. And now your women's runner-up, the #1 seed heading to the original Sprout Malibu Longboard Championship from Hawaii, Kelis, Kaleopa'a. Presenting the award will be Graham Stapleberg. So, Kelis, first of all, felicidades, congratulations. Huge performance throughout this event, throughout the season. You got a victory in Huntington Beach.
Classic Soul Arc Hang 10.
Kaniela Stewart takes out the men's division, the #1 seed heading into Malibu.
Longboard enthusiasts, Waikiki represent. Give it up for the teenager, Sophia Culhane, coming through with a victory at the last stop.
This copyrighted event broadcast is produced by the World Surf League for broadcast around the world and may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the written consent of the World Surf League.